Though it's not always the case, more often than not, multiplatform games are best played on PC. And chances are, those who prefer to play their games on PC have told you as much more than a few times. Building a good PC is not cheap, but at the same time, a good system enables the kind of performance and visual boost that consoles simply cannot deliver. Here, we're going to take a look at 15 PC ports of multi-platform games, some with simultaneous launches, some that came to PC later. All deserve to be highlighted. Before we go ahead, a quick request. We upload new videos every single day, and your subscription matters a lot. So please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. With that out of the way, let's begin. Halo: The Master Chief Collection. 343 Industries deserves a ton of credit for everything to do with the Master Chief Collection over the last few years. When the collection first launched on Xbox One, it was, in no vague terms, a disaster. Over the time, the developer fixed it, but on PC, MCC was flying high right from the get-go. The decision to release the collection in fragments, one game at a time, was absolutely the right call, as was giving ample beta testing time to each new release, and then actually listening to feedback from players. Of course, there's also the fact that shooters are just much more enjoyable to play with a keyboard and a mouse than with a gamepad. Days Gone. Days Gone doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. The game certainly has its issues, but there's a lot to love here, and it's fair to say that playing it on PC is definitely the best way to experience all of those strengths. For starters, Ben Studios' open-world game's PC launch had the benefit of not having the technical issues and lack of polish that plagued the game when it launched on the PS4 2 years prior. Add to that excellent visual upgrades, having all of the post-launch content and fixes in the game from the get-go, and just an all-around smoother experience, and you have a version of Days Gone that truly allows the game's best aspects to flourish. Horizon Zero Dawn. Let's be honest here, if we're talking about Horizon Zero Dawn's PC ports as it was at launch, it absolutely would not deserve a place on this list. Visual issues, performance issues, user interface bugs, technical glitches, and more problems were abundantly found in what was at first a very disappointing port of an excellent game. But credit where credit is due, Guerrilla Games spent several weeks and months ironing out most of those problems, and Zero Dawn as it exists on PC is a great port, one that does justice to the core of the game itself. Grand Theft Auto V. It's a little hard to think back to a time when GTA 5 was not on PC, but at launch, the game was only available on PS3 and Xbox 360. It took a good year and a half or so for the open-world behemoth to finally make the jump to PC, but when it did so in style. Better visuals, improved performance, customization options, the Rockstar editor, and nearly endless longevity lent by a booming modding community. Grand Theft Auto 5 would be in a very different place right now if not for its PC port. Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar's PC port of Red Dead Redemption 2 wasn't nearly as successful as the GTA port, owing to a bevy of technical problems at launch, from crashes and freezes to visual bugs and a litany of glitches. But much like what happened with the Horizon Zero Dawn port, Red Dead Redemption 2 has made a solid recovery. In its current state, it's an excellent port, letting players play an already ambitious and gorgeous game on hardware that only exacerbates those strengths, among other things. Will it provide Red Dead 2 with the kind of longevity that GTA 5's port did? Well, that remains to be seen. Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 being great on PC largely boils down to Dark Souls 3 being a great game, period. This is one of From Software's finest works to date, so of course we're going to have nice things to say about being able to play a better-looking version of it. But even as a PC port, it deserves plenty of praise. Performance is often key in Souls games, and provided that you have the hardware for it on PC, Dark Souls 3 is buttery smooth, making for an inherently better experience. And this might be a subjective thing, but playing it with a keyboard and a mouse is also more enjoyable in many ways. Death Stranding. Not long after Death Stranding launched on PS4, Kojima Productions teamed up with 505 Games to bring the game to PC, and did so with great results. This is a beautiful game as it is, but on a powerful PC, the desolate beauty of its world flourishes beyond your wildest expectations. It is, without a doubt, the best version of the game. Sure, Death Stranding is by design not for everyone, but if you're planning on giving it a go and have a decent rig to run it on, you shouldn't even think about getting the PS4 version. Gears 5.
Tell me we're getting close!
Marcus's coordinates put New Hope in valley up ahead.
clearly the Coalition put in a ridiculous amount of work to ensure that Gears 5 could be the best possible version of itself on PC right at launch. Not only does it look drop-dead gorgeous and run like an absolute dream, if you have the hardware for it of course, it's also brimming with a vast pool of settings and accessibility options that are tailor-made to impress PC audiences. It swings big, and it actually works as intended, which is by no means a small achievement. Forza Horizon 4. Forza Horizon 4's PC version would have deserved a place on this list even if it were the exact same as the game's Xbox One version, given the fact that it's one of the best racing games ever made. But Playground Games' PC version legitimately makes an already excellent game even better. On ultra settings, the game is a visual feast, an absolute technical masterpiece, and playing a racer with the significantly improved performance that a good PC can enable is an absolutely transformative experience. Add to that other bonuses like a vast range of visual options and settings, and an all-around solid optimization, and you have an excellent PC port on your hands. Sadly, the game's Steam launch faced more than its fair share of issues, but hopefully Playground will continue to iron out those kinks as well. Metal Gear Solid 5. People will often tell you that mods are one of the biggest advantages PC has over console gaming, and there aren't a lot of games out there that prove that notion right as resoundingly as Metal Gear Solid 5 does. From aesthetic improvements to populating the world to make it denser, from adding entirely new mechanics to filling in blatant gaps, MGS5 mods have come very close to turning this excellent stealth game into the game it should have been at launch. Of course, the general improvements that come from better visuals, smoother frame rates, graphical options, and more also contribute to the PC port's quality significantly. Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World had a bit of a rough start on PC at first, owing to some connectivity issues and the port's CPU-intensive nature, and those issues flared up again when Iceborne first launched. But by and large, especially these days, it's a great port of a great game. Performance is solid and smooth, visuals are sharper and benefit from plenty of settings and options, and of course, there's an active player base that keeps the community alive and kicking. It might not be unequivocally the best version of the game, that's very much debatable, but it is, at the very least, a solid enough way to play it. Final Fantasy XV. This is how to turn a disappointing game into a legitimately good one. Not only does Final Fantasy XV's PC release benefit from having DLC included with the base experience, the game also just looks and runs much better than its console counterparts. And with a host of visual boosts, graphical options, new features, mods, and much more added on top, what you get is just a much more rounded and complete experience. This is surely the best way to experience Final Fantasy XV. And with that, we reached the end of the video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on GamingBolt, so please consider subscribing as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.